Hello, this is Jay Mitchell, and we are back from another episode of the Libertarian Censored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Censored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have, let's talk about RFK going after Trump from Bo the Fifth Column on YouTube, and that's by Narco Federation. They added RFK Jr. and Trump addressed the LP. Kennedy, I think he had the right instinct when he came into office. He was initially very reluctant to impose lockdowns, but then he got ruled by his bureaucrats. He caved in, and many of our most fundamental rights disappeared practically overnight. President Trump said he was going to run America like a business, and he came in, he gave the keys to all our businesses to a 50-year-old bureaucrat who's never been elected to ever anything, and I had no accountability. It seems at least some of the LP recognize Trump for what he is. Why they're bringing candidates not for the party speaks to the state of the party anyway. Let's see how Trump's address goes. And I didn't comment on that one, since I'm suspended currently. It's, pretty much all the posts I can comment on. But, yeah, my thoughts on that one are, I'd agree with what Kennedy Jr. said. To Trump, I think he's got some good rhetoric, but, I definitely think, he's just going to do whatever the establishment wants him to do, and he's not going to, really fight for our rights, just like how none of them really fight for our rights. It's all just theater, I think. They're all on the same team. It's a big club, and you ain't in it, as George Carlin famously said. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump speaks at LNC is booed. That's from Shifty Eyed Goat, and that's crosspost from the Watch People Die Inside subreddit. And they added crosspost not seeing this on other relevant subs. And I definitely do think if Trump, I do think a libertarian position would be to boo Trump for his non-libertarian positions, especially since he's trying to pander to libertarians to get their votes. But, I definitely do have to give him credit for, being willing to go into an environment that he might have been considered to be hostile. And I think that's something that, people increasingly don't do these days. They don't go into hostile environments. They prefer their echo chambers. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, I'm glad we got to see Trump beg for nomination tonight from Grift12838. And they added, he made fun of our 3%, and then that's literally the only reason he came. He lost in 2020 because of our party in key states such as Georgia, and he will lose again in 2024. Our votes are the one thing he can't buy, and that makes him and his supporters very angry. Hopefully RFK can force a scenario where no one gets 270 electoral votes. And I'd agree with that. Yeah, I definitely, I think if no one gets 270 electoral votes, it's probably going to go for, the election would probably go to Trump since, the House would vote. But, I'd agree with that, no one's entitled to your vote, and that's very important to remember. And, a lot of people in the major parties think they're entitled to your votes, and they definitely aren't. And that's my thoughts on that issue. And we have moments after Trump leaves, Chase Oliver calls Trump a charlatan grifter and a war criminal for drone bombing children. And that's a post from Nuance Matters, and it's a tweet from Rod Weber, and, that's a crosspost to the Libertarian Party USA subreddit as well. And I would agree with Chase Oliver there. Trump's a war criminal and should be treated as such. But, all the presidents are really war criminals. Like 90% of the U.S. government, I would say, at the very least, is war criminals at this point. So I think we just got to throw them all in jail, if you ask me. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have young Republicans tried to stack the audience for Trump's speech at the Libertarian National Convention from Tom 13, and that's a tweet from Washington, D.C. young Republicans. Watch regime libertarians try to secretly kick D.C. young Republicans out of seats at the Libertarian Convention. And, they had, sorry for the jitter link, the response section got funny pretty quickly, though. And, I definitely do think, ultimately, anyone who wants to go should be able to go, and if you want to be a young Republican and go, I think you should have been able to. But that's my thoughts on that. It ultimately comes down to who has the force, economic capital, and social capital to get away with what, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have presidential nomination speeches happening now from the Libertarian Party YouTube channel, and that's from Nuance Matters, and I think that was what happened yesterday. Yeah. Then we have, that was for the Libertarian Party, all the president's nomination speeches, and Chase Oliver got the nomination, so we'll get to that later, though. Then we have, could the LP actually nominate or endorse Trump from Dina B, free, or would it violate bylaws? I don't know, just wondering. And I don't think they could. One guy tried to, I think yesterday, and they all voted him down since Trump's not registered. RFK Jr. was registered, so he could be nominated, but Trump's not a registered Libertarian, so they couldn't nominate him even if they wanted to. It looks like, and that's my thought on that issue. Then we have Fred of 10, Chase Oliver responses to Trump's speech at LP at the National Libertarian National Convention from Nuance Matters. That's cross-post from the Chase Oliver 2024 subreddit. It's a tweet from a Fred from Scientific Libertarian. And yeah, I think Chase Oliver definitely had some good responses to Trump's speech. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump says he will free Ross Ulbricht once drug dealers get the death penalty. And that's from Far and Chimney. And they have a post about that. Trump in his speech at the Libertarian National Convention said he wanted to continue to the sentence of Ross Ulbricht. At the time, sure, if the room was full of free Ross signs. Prior to Trump speaking, Joshua claimed that the free Ross promised by Trump was set behind stories several weeks in advance. With the LNC and that Angela McCarthy intends to highlight this Trump speech tonight in order to drive Libertarians towards Trump's election campaign. The LNC is now showing off their way of getting Trump by promising free Ross, yet they're getting attention. But Trump is only pandering about Ross. And I'd agree with that. He already had 4 whole years to free Ross, and he didn't do it. So I think it's just, it's just pandering. And, if he gets in office and does it, I'll give him props for that. But until he actually does it, it's just pandering. Then we have Libertarian Party presidential voting has begun from Nuance Matters. And that's they added, we can share results in here as we hear and see them. The nominated candidates were Art Olivier, Charles Belay, Chase Oliver, Jacob Hornberger, Joshua Swift, Lars Mapson, Michael Rectenwald, Mike Turmat, RFK Jr., and Joshua Toad Anderson. And then none of the above. And none of the above almost ended up winning it. I would have been interesting. Nobody would have been the candidate for president. I think the Yippies nominated nobody in 1976. I think that would be interesting. But I think Chase Oliver did end up winning. And let's see. Next we have Trump mocks libertarians at their own convention from thehill.com by Donald Key. And yeah, I definitely don't think that was too good, but I'm glad the libertarians stood up to him. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have He's More Delusional Than I Thought. Libertarians jeered Trump during convention speech from Politico.com by Donald Key. And yeah, I definitely, as I said earlier, that was a good thing. Then we have Trump allies meltdown as libertarians eject Trump members from front row seats at event from RollStory.com by Secondhand Politics. And yeah, I definitely do think, it's Libertarians Convention, so, I think they probably had the more force and economic and social capital to do what they wanted. But yeah, I definitely do think, if Trump supporters did want to go to the speech, I think they should have been able to, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump, who wants to execute drug dealers, promises free Ross Ulbricht from Reason. That's from Far and Chimney. And we talked about that earlier, but yeah, I definitely do think it's pandering until he actually does it, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Matt Welch, the governing Mises Caucus faction of the Libertarian Party, spent 2 years gearing up for a presidential race in which the preferred candidate could not handle a high-profile post-Trump speech for Boleslaw because he was too high after eating a gummy. And that's from Matt Welch on Twitter by Legio X. And I liked Rectenwald, but he definitely kind of looked ridiculous there. And I think that probably might have played a role in him not getting nominated for president. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Chase Oliver wins Libertarian Party's nomination to be their candidate for president of the United States of America from Nuance Matters, and that's cross-post from the Chase Oliver 2024 subreddit. He got 60.61% of the vote, Noda got 36.59% of the vote, and the write-ins got 2.8% of the vote on the 7th and final ballot. And my thoughts on that are, Chase Oliver is, I think, kind of more progressive than libertarian. He's been on the woke side for me, but I think I'll still probably end up voting for him. Because, he's not perfect, but, he's probably better than what we have currently from the major parties. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have support Chase Oliver from Griff 12838. And they added, personally I was heavily on Lars/Larry, but I would support Chase. Whoever gets elected VP, hopefully Larry. My squawk members should support Chase as well, so we don't lose ballot access. Remember, we are libertarians. And I think Mike Turmat ended up being elected VP because he sent his votes to Chase Oliver's campaign in order to defeat Rectenwald and get on the Chase Oliver nominated, and Chase Oliver in turn gave him the VP slot. And I think that's a decent ticket. I personally know I don't think Chase is perfect, especially when it comes to some issues like I think he's kind of into all the trans surgeries for kids and all that, and that's something I personally don't agree with him on. But you don't you can't always get everything you want. Everyone's going to disagree somewhat with each other, and that's always important to remember as well. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Louisiana moves to criminalize possession of abortion pills and subject violators up to 5 years in prison from my Arclemis. What's that? myarclemis.com. I guess that's Arclemis, Louisiana, Mississippi. That's from Clorox. That's a crossword from the Louisiana subreddit. And I definitely do think people should be able to do whatever drugs they put whatever they want into their own bodies, and that's my fault on that issue. That's why I personally wouldn't really care for this. Then we have What Are Everyone's Faults on the No Child Left Behind Act by Ragnar OKXP, and that is former Green Party member. I'm still all for its repeal. I just want to hear other faults, and I'd agree if its repeal. It's basically just saying you can't. You have to pass all the. I think it's like you have to pass all the kids, even if they aren't meeting all the requirements, and I don't think that is very libertarian. I think the libertarian position is you have to meet the requirements, and even if you can't meet them, you just get held back a year, and maybe stay in school until you're 57. I don't know, and I think that would be the more libertarian solution in regards to education. Then we have Libertarian National Convention did this body grab a former president by the pussy last night by Tom 13. That's a crossword from the Public Figure subreddit and that's just another response to Trump speaking. And I think that's more on the Orange Man bad. I don't really like the Orange Man, but you can only say all the Orange Man bad quotes like "grab by the pussy" so many times before they start to lose any appeal to anyone. Except for people like the circles for how bad he is. Then we have proposed Texas GOP platform cards support the Bible in schools, electoral changes that would lock Democrats out of statewide office by Tom 13. That's from TexasTribune.org, I think, and that's just the iceberg. And I definitely do agree that is not very libertarian. Then we have our most prolific poster, an actual libertarian candidate for 2024, suddenly gone hiding amongst all the Trump convention posting by Swamping He Dan. They added, it's clearly because he supports Trump and a Libertarian Nationalist Alliance. He's nothing but a conservative. Please don't vote for this person in the elections if you're in Pennsylvania. And they added Maz's post calling out the actual libertarian candidate for 2024 and therefore a public figure. He even agreed with me in a post let's talk on this thread made 2 weeks ago. And I said, it was not appearing though since I'm suspended currently, but I said my main account is suspended for this week, so I'm lying low until then. Also, the subreddit's karma requirement means I can't participate in discussion even if I wanted to on this account. So much for being uncensored. I don't have enough karma which is like the Reddit equivalent of social credit. And if you don't have enough social credit on a lot of subreddits, you can't post or comment without getting auto removed. And that's why I increasingly think we live in a world where censorship is the new normal, sadly, and sometimes we just have to cope with that. And I personally am against using government force for a lot of things, but if I think one of the things that might be justified for is forcing these companies to uphold the standards of the First Amendment, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Otherwise, everyone who dissents at all might be silenced. And I think I think we're gonna wrap up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.